Hello, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us for our presentation on blood nutrition. During this presentation, we're going to talk about how you can optimize your health with science-guided nutrition. Our motto is lab tests, not best guess. So before we begin, I would like to make sure that you understand that the information in this presentation is not intended to replace a one-on-one relationship with a qualified medical professional, and it's definitely not intended as medical advice. It is, however, intended as a sharing of the knowledge and information from my research and from other experts that I work with. We encourage you to make your own healthcare decisions based upon your research and in partnership with your qualified medical professionals. This presentation is provided for informational purposes only, and no guarantees, promises, representations, warranties of any kind regarding specific or general benefits will or have been made by myself, Michelle Gamble, or my affiliates or their officers, principals, representatives. I am not responsible for and shall have no liability for any success or failure, acts, ends, or omissions appropriate to your decisions or the use of your reliance on this information. Now that we've gotten our housekeeping out of the way, I would like to tell you a little bit more about who I am and why I care so much about blood nutrition. Well, my name is Dr. Michelle Gamble, and I am a non-medical doctor of naturology, and I am what I term as being an integrative wellness specialist, meaning that I integrate the old world with the new world. I integrate the old world as it pertains to nutrition and lifestyle, habits that were told and passed down to us from our ancestors, really and truly, things as ancient as colon hydrotherapy and homeopathy and the use of herbs. And I merged that with all the wondrous scientific advancements that we have been blessed to be privy to, especially in the past 20, 30 years. Now, one of the reasons why I am so passionate about blood chemistry is because of the loving memory of my spiritual mentor by the name of Paul Grayson. And I want to tell you a little bit about his story. He was a gentleman that was a tremendous importance to me in terms of guiding me with regards to my spiritual understandings of the world. And several years ago, we had a retreat sanctuary in Georgia, and I asked Mr. Grayson to come and speak at our health summit because I wanted to share his knowledge with the rest of the world. During his stay at the health summit, he presented with, an extremely distended abdomen. And so I said to him, I said, you know what? Why don't you allow me to go ahead and run a blood panel on you? Because part of the health summit was that we had gotten a local lab to give the participants of the summit a tremendous deal of doing a comprehensive panel for only $50. And so I said, just humor me. Let's run the blood panel and see what happens. And he's like, oh, I'm totally fine. I probably just need a colon hydrotherapy session. It's no biggie, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'll pay for it. Just humor me. So he went ahead and had the labs drawn, and the results came back actually before he left to go back to New York. And when I looked at the labs, they had what we call ominous signs. And when I saw that, I said to him, I said, as soon as you get back to New York, you need to go immediately to your primary care provider and show them these labs and go from there. A couple days later, after he returned to New York, he called me and informed me that he had stage 4 cancer. And at that point, there was really nothing more that they can do. And he lived for a couple more weeks. And just before he passed, he called me and he said, thank you. Thank you for giving me the awareness of what was going on so that I was able to say my goodbyes, because, without that, I would have just been going on my merry old business, and all of a sudden, and it's over. Now, I share this story not to be all morbid and everything, but to let you know that his signs were at the terminal end of what we call the progression of disease. And cancer doesn't evolve in one day, 1 month, even 1 year. Cancer is the end stage of a progression of different breakdowns in the body. And unfortunately, we live in a healthcare system that doesn't have a preventative approach, that doesn't look for these signs before they blow up in our faces as full-blown disease. And that is what I want to share with you today. I want to share with you the act of becoming empowered to, number one, get labs drawn on yourself, and number two, be able to look at them from a preventative standpoint to help yourself to promote healing and wellness in your person without simply waiting to become the victim of an inevitable disease. Now, the next short story I'd like to share with you is that of my daughter Javita, whom I adopted a couple of years ago. Now, before adoption, she was my foster child, and as my foster child, I had absolutely no rights. She came to me because she had been recently diagnosed as being a type 1 diabetic. And in my interactions in dealing with her, and also through a lot of incorporating my approach with regards to nutrition, I was able to shift her numbers. And so I was curious about her diagnosis, and I didn't quite, agree with the diagnosis. But as I said, as a foster parent, I didn't have any rights and I couldn't do anything. Once I adopted her, however, I was able to take her to a new endocrinologist, and I said, you know what, I want to get to the root causes of what we call hyperglycemia, because diabetes is not hyperglycemia. Just because your blood sugar is elevated does not make it diabetes. What makes it diabetes, the root causes of diabetes, can be found in other areas of labs that they refused to run when I was a foster parent. So once I got her fully adopted and legally my child, I was able to throw those other people to the curb and go to another practitioner to get certain tests run. And these tests revealed that she was actually a type 2 diabetic. And they also revealed a lot of information that helped me to customize her wellness plan, so you can see what she looked like before adoption. At that point, she was over 70 pounds overweight. Her A1C was in the 9s. She was on a plethora of antipsychotic medications. And 2 years afterwards, you can see what she looks like. She lost all of that excessive weight. Through diet and exercise, we are able to manage her symptoms of high blood sugar. And so now her A1C is 6.6, and that is without any form of medication. So what we're going to talk to you about in this presentation is how to use your ordinary blood chemistry labs that you run practically every year with your doctor, how to use those labs to be able to customize a protocol for your specific needs. We're going to learn about nutrition. We're going to learn about the need for personalization. We're going to learn about the need for validation, meaning once you run a test and you put in a certain protocol, then you got to retest to see what's been happening. And we're going to learn about how your body's needs are reflected in the simple blood chemistry panel that, like I said, you do every year. And the other thing is that I'm going to give you a special offer for how you can get my assistance on being able to figure out exactly what type of tests you need to help your particular set of circumstances because one blood panel may be needed for one person and another panel needed for another person. Some people need to run a thyroid panel. Some people don't. Some people need to run what we call an anemia panel. Some people don't need that. Some people need to run what we call a blood sugar balancing panel. Some people don't. So you need to find out what type of test you need for your set of circumstances, and then how to interpret that data once you get back the results. So let's first start by talking about some of the common ways that people learn about diet and nutrition. Well, some of us, we go into, different vitamin stores and we look at their 50 million little publications and newsletters. I used to be one of those people. I would go in and I'd come out inevitably with this huge bag of leaflets, and then I would also talk to the store clerk. I would read countless magazine articles, and if you ever come to my facility, you will see I have tons and tons of books on every aspect of health imaginable. And more recently, we have been learning tremendous amount about diet and nutrition from none other than Dr. Google. Yes. And of course, you have the old mainstay, such as friends and family and co-workers and all of those people. And as well-meaning as all of those people are, they don't quite necessarily have the information that you need to progress your health and wellness. And indeed, we're living in a time where it's not about a lack of information, but rather information overload. I mean, we look at Dr. Google and go through pages and pages and websites, and we come out with 50 million different self-diagnoses, and yet no closer to having a true understanding of what we need as an individual protocol for our set of circumstances. So let us talk about why there is such a need for a personalized meal plan and nutritional outlook. Well, the reality, like I said, is that there is an abundance, an overload of nutrition information and supplements all around us. I mean, there are 50 million supplements out there, and they all purport to be the best thing since sliced bread for whatever your ailment may be. And we need to really consider that there's a difference between what is generally good versus what you need. What I keep telling my students is that one man's medicine can be another man's poison. And just because you are, say, diabetic does not mean that the supplements and the protocol that works for Susie, who is also diabetic, is going to necessarily work for you. It may work for you to a certain point, but then you reach that plateau, you reach that threshold where you feel 50% better, but you're still quite a ways from feeling 100%. And the question becomes, how do you know what is best for you? Is there a way to figure out what your body's precise needs are at any given point in time? And what kind of resources are you going to rely on for guidance? How important is it to you to deal with your need for personalized nutrition? And more than anything else, there's a need for validation, because I say all the time, you know what? There's a grain of truth in everything that is out there. And it's difficult to see through all the wonderful claims and to select the appropriate diet and lifestyle and nutrients that address your specific need. You need to find a way to be able to validate the results of implementing any particular diet or lifestyle nutritional change in your life. And that is where the metal hits the road. That is where things come together, when you are able to see that this is a protocol that is specifically designed for you. because the reality is that there is no diet out there that is going to meet your needs 100%. The only diet that will meet your needs 100% is a diet, lifestyle, nutritional protocol that specifically addresses your individual needs. And that has to be validated through scientific methods. That is not about hearsay. That is not about, well, I think this, or I believe this, or perhaps this. This is going to be something that is going to be based on the signs that are being reflected in your blood chemistry. What a lot of people don't realize is that what your body needs is revealed in your blood test. Your blood is a matter of reading the signs. An ordinary blood test that you get every year from the doctor can tell you significant amount of information that can be used to guide your healthcare practitioner, if he or she is savvy, to be able to create an effective wellness program to meet your specific needs. Now, this approach pays for itself in the first visit, in the first consultation, and it helps you to save money because you don't spend your time, money, and efforts in all the 50 million different supplements and all the 50 million diet plans and all the 50 million different diet recommendations that are out there that are generic to Joe Schmo Schmuck. You'll be able to have your efforts, your money, laser-like precise, targeting your specific needs. And the fact that you are listening to this presentation and viewing these slides tells me that you are more than likely like the majority of my clients. You see, the majority of my clients are very savvy, know a considerable amount in terms of nutrition, and they've been spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on different protocols and different diet plans and different supplements. And the reality is that you don't have the time or the resources or the money to waste any longer. You want to have a science-based nutrition guiding your choices. And for these sets of guidance to come from your individual, your personal blood test, that is what's going to become the new standard of healthcare when we develop protocols and wellness plans that are based on someone's genetics as well as someone's lab markers within the present. So you may be asking yourself, what exactly is this blood nutrition analysis stuff anyway? Well, in a nutshell, it's about identifying nutritionally significant information that is reflected in your blood test. This is what we call looking for the nutritional range or the functional range. So we're not looking for pathology, because the reality is that, as I said, the most of my clients that come to me, they come to me with lab work and their doctor says, oh, you're fine, you're completely fine, because none of their markers have reached into the pathology range. We're not interested in the pathology range. We're not interested in diagnosing you. In fact, I'm not a medical doctor. I have no desire and I have no expertise in diagnosing anything. What I'm here to do is to talk to you about being able to discern, detect different patterns that evolve that have nutritional significance. Patterns such as deficiencies and excesses of certain nutrients, electrolyte and mineral imbalances, hormonal imbalances that are not necessarily yet full-blown disease. And by addressing these imbalances, we can optimize the metabolic processes in the body in order to maintain healthy performance. This is what I call truly science-guided, customized nutrition. So what is blood chemistry? Blood chemistry is looking at your traditional annual physical lab work that's done, specifically looking at cholesterol and lipids, looking at the thyroid function, looking at liver and kidney markers, looking at what we call a CBC with differential, sorry. These are what we call blood cells, red and white blood cells, as well as looking at the individual markers such as neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, things of that nature. Looking at blood sugar metabolism and a lot of other values depending on what is your familial history, what is your current presentations of symptomology, and a variety of other factors. And there are universally accepted pathology ranges that are based on nothing more than mathematical statistics. They are not a reflection of what is healthy. They are simply a reflection of a mathematical average. And unfortunately, a mathematical average that is based on the majority of people that go into a lab, which is usually speaking sick people, that is no way to base an expectation or an understanding of what is healthy. These wide ranges are based on pathology and based on general populations, and unfortunately cannot help you to discern what you really need to know, which is what are the functional ranges. What do my numbers need to look at to be a reflection of optimal health? You see, when we start to look at the labs from a standpoint of functional nutrition, that is when we get a wealth of information, because your blood test can tell you whether or not there's a need for vitamins such as B6, B12, D, and A. It can tell us whether or not your iron is low and you need to improve your food content and other things that would help you to metabolize iron. It can tell us about your fluid and electrolyte balance, such as whether or not you have sufficient magnesium and calcium, whether or not your tissues are properly hydrated. It can tell us whether or not there is a tremendous amount of inflammation in the body, or if you need antioxidants and enzymes and other support for the absorption of nutrients. Your labs can tell us what type of nutritional support you need for specific organs and metabolic pathways and biochemical activities. And it can tell us a variety of information about other key nutrients that are in the body. So now I know some of you at this point may be saying, hey Michelle, why is it that my doctor never told me all of these wonderful secrets that you tell me lie in my blood work? Is there a conspiracy? Well, I'll be quite honest. I think that the majority of our medical professionals out there are well-meaning, and there is no conspiracy to keep us all sick, at least not on that level. But let me not even get into that conversation. Really and truly, what we're talking about is the fact that most of our medical professionals have been trained to look for what we call pathological ranges as opposed to functional ranges, nutritional ranges. So for instance, let's take a look at a common marker that many people look at, the marker for type 2 diabetes. Within the pathology range, your doctor will not get all up in a bunch until your fasting glucose is greater than 127. Well, the reality is that it takes years for most people to get to this point where their fasting blood glucose is 127. And the treatment, generally speaking, is medications after they have decided that you are diabetic. What I'm encouraging you to do, however, is to consider a functional approach. And from a functional approach, we look for blood sugar levels fasting glucose levels to be greater than 90. If it is greater than 90, that's when my red flag goes up. If your A1C is greater than 5.5, that's when my red flag goes up. Your cholesterol will start to go up. Your triglycerides often go up before any of this even happens. And the reality is that this is the opportune moment for us to jump in and to provide the support that you need to stabilize your blood sugar levels, to optimize your health by finding out what your nutritional needs are and applying the appropriate diet, nutritional supplements, and lifestyle changes. As my mama always says, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So now the big takeaway is that I'm encouraging you to adopt a nutritional model versus a disease model. To start to look for nutritional imbalances that cause reduced functionality, reduced energy and vitality, increased feelings of discomfiture, and more pronounced symptoms as time goes by. It's not that these symptoms are necessarily caused by dysfunction or disease, but rather that they are a result of systemic stress caused by nutritional depletion. Again, the big picture, looking for the root cause, not looking for a band-aid, not looking for that super supplement or that super medication pill that's going to, be the answer to all your woes. Looking underneath the surface, we start to identify the reduced availability of nutritional elements in relationship to the demands placed on the body. So my need for magnesium is going to be different from Harry's magnesium needs. So my supplementation of magnesium and my nutritional protocol is going to have to be different from Harry's. There's no cookie cutter recipe here. There's no validity to even what we term as the USRDA in terms of the recommended daily allowance, because we are all different people. We all have different needs, and our body is constantly telling us that it needs more of certain nutrients and less of others in order to perform optimally to meet the demands of our stressful lifestyle. But again, those needs are individual. And now, to push you even a little further, that even when you identify nutritional deficiencies from your lab work, that is not the end of the story. That is actually the beginning, because these nutritional deficiencies are actually the result of disease processes that are working behind the scenes, which may be blocking digestion, absorption, or other metabolic processes. In fact, your nutritional supplementation in these cases does not necessarily address the disease, just like drugs don't address the disease. Drugs simply cover up the symptoms. And we're not interested in you simply covering up the symptoms. We want you to push beyond. So even after you have experienced the joy of an improvement in systems, we want to assist you in going deeper for more lasting results by addressing the underlying disease processes which are constantly at play underneath the surface. So the reality is that your symptoms may be caused by two totally different factors. One being nutritional imbalances, because we live in a society where our food is, let's admit it, depleted of any significant nutritional value. Even if you're going to do whole foods and all of that stuff, the reality is that our soils are depleted and therefore our foods are depleted when it comes to nutritional content. So there's that one layer of nutritional imbalances, but then there's also the deeper layer of possible disease processes, even genetics that may lie underneath the surface. And because these are two distinct mechanisms, each of these require a different appropriate response. And blood nutrition analysis helps us in both of these areas. It helps us to objectively identify nutritionally significant information, as well as identify possible under the surface disease process, and help us to select appropriate nutrients and protocols to support the health and well-being of your person. And many of you may not realize this, but I'm an extremely analytical person in combination with the creative side. So in my undergraduate, I actually majored in mathematics and English. And that's the beauty of what blood nutrition analysis is, because not only is it an art form to be able to truly understand what the markers mean, but it's also very scientific. It takes out a lot of the guesswork. It objectively targets the nutrients to the needs of your body. And by thoroughly researching the information, it has basis in science. This is not just picking things out of the sky. This is evidence-based, and it helps you to prepare for being able to fight metabolic imbalances and future stressors. And most importantly, I know a lot of you love this part, in the long run, it saves you a lot of precious time and money. Additionally, by implementing the strategies based on the information that you obtain from this analysis, you may dramatically improve your current well-being. It will help you to gain more energy, to relieve symptoms related to nutritional imbalances and deficiencies. And most importantly, because you're going to be involved in the process of reassessing, you ensure that you're not going to overload your system, with unnecessary nutrients. You're not going to simply be going into the vitamin store and buying everything that you can put your hands on or that you can afford in that given month. You're going to be able to selectively identify the specific nutrients that your body needs, so that you do not overburden your body with nutrients that it just has to end up eliminating. And it gives you that feeling of being empowered about your health, and not simply a victim waiting to happen, a person waiting for some disease to show up on the charts. The other significant benefit of a blood nutritional analysis is that we look at a variety of signs and symptoms that you have been experiencing in the context of what the nutritional imbalances and deficiencies may be at the root. And using this type of analysis in conjunction with an understanding of what the nutritional ranges are, what the functional ranges are, you can utilize your blood test that is, like I said, given to you practically every year during your annual visit. Blood nutrition strategies include a comprehensive health and wellness program that is developed from your own individual blood test, not based on cookie cutter recipes. This is the nutritional technology of the future, and this can be your present, because it is all about you. And when you are putting together your team of health professionals, you need to always remember that it doesn't matter what the alphabet soup is after their names. I don't care what kind of degrees they have. I want you to always be empowered to remember that it is all about you. Now, I challenge you to ask yourself, where will you go from here? I hope that you will decide to be proactive by initiating a change, by choosing life over death, by finding holistic healthcare professionals, including holistic-minded healthcare professionals on your health team. Some of the Sankofa natural healthcare resources that we provide that you are invited to participate in are a preliminary consultation, during which time we will listen to your story and help you to determine what are the most appropriate labs that you need to have done in order to get insight into what your specific needs are. We also have the resource of our online portal for lab work called Sankofa's Ultra Lab. Through this portal, you can, yes, I said you can, obtain labs on practically anything, anywhere in this country. Well, in 49 out of the 50 states. And last but not least, we also give you 3 different options of what we call a do-it-yourself, heal thyself program, where we assist you with identifying the labs that you need to acquire. We then assist you in getting the labs done if you're not able to get those labs drawn through your current primary healthcare provider. And not last but least, we assist you in putting together a customized program that incorporates the data from your lab draw. And it may also be a stool panel. It may also be a salivary hormonal panel. Who knows what your needs are? But we take all of those labs and use that information to help you to customize a program to meet your individual needs. No cookie cutter recipes here. And we give you the support, if you desire, to be able to implement a health and wellness plan on a day-to-day basis. Because, as many of you know, it's one thing to have a plan, it's another thing to work a plan. In closing, I want to thank you for joining us in this webinar. And remember, 2 roads diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled, and that has made all the difference. Peace, love, and blessings. For more information, you can contact us via our website, www.sankofahealing.com, or you may choose to email me, Dr. Gamble at sankofahealing.com, and feel free to give me a call, 850-725-8322. Thank you.